I started making fragrance content 1 year ago. I am by no means the biggest content creator, but that's why it's exciting and I'm making this video. I'm gonna document my entire fragrance journey. And maybe this will be episode 1 of something absolutely huge, or maybe it'll be a complete flop. But I'm gonna show you everything that's happened so far, all my tips, mistakes, and where I wanna go. Now, I've always loved fragrance. Not from the angle of having like 200 bottles in a crazy collection, but just the simple fact that I love to smell great. And I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you do too. So the first thing I did was pull out my phone, go on social media, and I was actually very surprised that there weren't that many people making fragrance content. So after that moment of refocus, I knew I needed a plan. So I went out and bought 3 big pucker pads, like 200 pages each. The first book was for business. I wanted to understand the industry, how the money worked, how the brands are built, and all the revenue streams attached. The second book was for the fragrance itself. I literally at that point didn't even know niche fragrances existed. My collection was entirely designer. So I started doing a lot of research on fragrances that I needed to test and houses I needed to learn about. And my third book was for content. Now this book was like my creative playground. I filled it with something that I call pillars, series ideas, concepts, things that I'd seen already that I could put my own spin on, and hundreds of ideas poured into that book, and to this day, I still haven't even gone through all of them. And within hours, I was in blackout mode. I had my head down researching day and night. And I even went fragrance shopping the next day. And I'll never forget that first time because I was literally completely out of my depth. I probably smelled 30 things in the first 2 minutes and went completely nose blind. I was so overwhelmed, but loving every second. And after 3 or 4 days, all the 3 notebooks were pretty much full. The first one had nearly 40 revenue generating streams and a way to complete each one. The second was crammed with brands like Fragrance Du Bois, Ex Nihilo, Parfums de Marly, names that I'd not even heard of before. And the third book was just overflowing with content ideas. Now I'd started to notice that successful modern brands with high impact usually had one thing in common, and that was a frontman founder with passion. They build the audience first and the products come later. So that became my mindset, just build an audience, build trust, and I can work the rest out later. Now the first step of the plan was simple. 4 videos a day, every single day for 8 weeks. No excuses and no distractions. I just needed to not get in my own head, not get distracted by the numbers, put my head down and focus. That was the system, and I know this formula is right, so it was just about proving it. So once the plan was set, it's time to execute. And the first videos, well, they were pretty rough. No proper lighting, just the iPhone audio. Very amateur, but I wanted to get moving quickly. Now, I remember the first video really clearly, and it was like if you want to start a fragrance collection, here is what you should buy first. I filmed it, I cut it, I put it out there, and it got about 1,500 plays. And I was buzzing. And I'm absolutely sure the next one's gonna do even better. Posted the second video, 110 plays. And I was currently sitting at a lean 8 followers. It's kind of freeing because if you've got no audience, there's no pressure and you've literally got nothing to lose. So I was experimenting with funny content, informative content, anything that could create a spark, anything that could get some attention to the page. And for almost the entire 7 to 8 weeks of doing 4 videos every single day, pretty much none of the videos broke 500 plays. Week after week, just grinding the content out. My friends, my family, even my girlfriend were a bit confused and asking, how long are you gonna do this before you move on to something else? But I still had faith in my system. And finally, 7.5 weeks in, we finally got a bit of a breakthrough. One video, my biggest to this day, 6 million views, and this thing exploded like a train out of the station. The growth was insane, the followers are shooting out, the notifications were non-stop, and I had proof that my system actually works. Once I was off the ground and running on TikTok, I wanted to start thinking about scale. So TikTok became my testing ground, and anything that did really well and performed well on there, I would save it and later keep that for a post on Instagram. And a few months later, I started posting to Instagram and I only posted the big ones. My thinking was pretty simple. If it worked on one algorithm, there's something about it that should make it work on the other. No weak content, no fillers, just the best of the best, and it worked. Within a week, I'd already got to 5,000 followers, and then this strategy gave me a second platform to work from. It meant I wasn't just relying on TikTok anymore, and then the growth started to compound. So after I started to build a bit of an audience, then I was asking myself, right, what's the next step? I wanted to build something bigger. So I took my old vocal booth and turned it into a fragrance studio. And I built a wall that became synonymous in the fragrance world as the top 30 wall. And if you scroll back on my Instagram, you can still find that old wall there today. But at the same time, I had to adjust my pace because 4 videos a day just wasn't sustainable. So I wanted to go to 1 a day, stay super consistent, and then really prove concept, and work out different ideas and throw things at the wall, see what's stuck, and then drill down on those ideas. Then I made my first business decision to launch the decants. So my thinking with this was actually pretty simple. If a bottle costs like £100 for 100 ml, so it's £1 a milliliter, and my decants are like 8 ml, then it's costing me £8 to make it, and I'm gonna sell it for £16. So it's pretty much double up on decants. So I ordered my first decant bottles and boxes, and the orders started to trickle in. It was very, very slow at first, but it was a proof of concept. Proof that people would buy directly from me. And just like that, it wasn't just content anymore. It was the start of a brand, the start of Centality. A few weeks later, my dream was absolutely solidified. I wanted to open a niche store. To do it, I needed 3 things: stock, investment, and a space. So I found a location, found funding, but the stock became the issue. The fragrance brands I was reaching out to were literally making it impossible for me. They wanted to see either a year's books or a finished store before they'd even talk to me. So I'm basically in a total catch-22. Couldn't get stock without a shop, and I couldn't open a shop without the stock. So if those companies didn't want to supply me, I'd pivot and go down the opposite route. And that's when I leaned into Arabic Middle Eastern fragrances. And it kind of made sense because at the time, designer was starting to flatline, niche was exploding, and therefore the dupes were also exploding as a counterpoint to the price. And to be honest, my mindset was pretty simple. If the niche companies won't supply me with stock, I'll just go and sell dupes of their product instead. And the first product I stocked was Vulcan Fouet by French Avenue. A bit of hustling, a few phone calls later, and we were in business. I went to the distributor myself to pick it up on the first day it landed in the country. And I bought a total of 48 units. But it cost me everything I had at the time. When I got home, I ran straight in the studio and started making content. Now I came out afterwards and I was a little bit nervous, but the only thing I had in the back pocket is that this fragrance was absolutely incredible. Literally over to Chloe and I was like, what am I gonna do if none of these sell? But about 2 minutes later, my phone made a little ba-ding. It was a noise I'd never heard before, and it was coming from Squarespace, and there we go, it was my first order. Sold the first one, £45 in, and we were celebrating. And then my phone went again, but this time 3 times in a row. And within about 2 hours, the phone would not stop dinging. I sold every single one of them. And from there, I just expanded to more brands and kept using that money to pay for more fragrances in the collection. Now, as this catalog was growing, I realized something very quickly. I was running out of space. My little setup in that room wasn't gonna cut it anymore. So I made a decision. If I couldn't have my own shop, I'll just build my own one. But not a shop for customers, a fragrance studio. A space built just for me, for content, for storage, and for growth. Somewhere that felt like a real HQ for Centality. And building it wasn't easy, it was expensive and it took time. And while I was building it, I couldn't put out any fragrance content. And the money was going out much faster than it was coming in. But I knew if I wanted to take this seriously in the future, I've got to invest now. I had to back myself and push through it. And when it was finished, I had a proper space, a room built for fragrance. My own version of a shop and the foundation for everything that comes next. Now, after about a year of fragrance content creation, I hit a moment of reflection. It was time to set new goals. I was thinking about all the targets that I'd written down the year before, get my first fragrance PR package, be invited to a fragrance event, land my first paid contract, and one by one, all of those milestones had happened. It was surreal and humbling and nice to know that the hard work was paying off. To be working with brands like Prada, Boss, Armani, Memo Paris, and the list goes on and on. It was proof that the hard work was paying off. But at the same time, I started to kind of feel something else. I didn't want to keep making endless content about dupes. Yes, they sold, and yes, people love them, but for me, it's just not as exciting. Because out of 100 dupes, maybe 90 are completely forgettable, 8 are really good, and there's just a couple that are spectacular. But I want to focus on the real thing. Less about chasing weekly releases of the next dupe, and more about creating something of my own that's special. So after everything we'd done so far, the content, the decants, the Arabic fragrances, building the studio, there was one direction left that I really wanted to go. I wanted to build my own fragrance. Not just sell other people's bottles and talk about what already exists. I want to build something new from scratch. And I knew it was something I couldn't do alone. So I brought on a business partner, someone super knowledgeable, experienced, and they could help me take it to the next step. So here we are at the start of a new beginning. From cameras and edits as a kid to a decade of music, to being lost and finding fragrance, from notebooks, late nights, and 8 weeks of grind, the first viral moment, the first sales, and the first big risks, all of it has led to this. To take the obsession, the failures, the lessons, and bottle it. And the first chapter is Pink Rain. So in the next episode, you're gonna see the journey of creating the fragrance and where it's taken us after the launch. And here's the truth, we have no idea where it goes from here. This may become one of the biggest fragrance brands in the entire world, or maybe it totally flops. But either way, you're gonna see this play out in real time and watch something being built from scratch. So if you wanna follow that story, you know what to do. The House of Scentality has officially begun. Now go hit follow.